trip planning. It is the key to maximizing a driver's earning potential. Benjamin Franklin said, "Failing to plan is planning to fail." The successful commercial driver has mastered the skill of trip planning, and they do it with every load, no exceptions. It may seem like a big task, but ask and answer a few questions, and it's pretty straightforward. Like, when does the load pick up? And when does it deliver? How many miles is it from pickup to delivery? How many days and hours will it take? How many drive shifts will it take? How many hours of service are needed and what's available? How far each day is needed to be driven to get there legally and on time? And what is the best route to follow? Some rules to follow. Always divide the miles to be traveled by 50 miles per hour. Make a daily plan based on the available hours for that day and stay on schedule. Plan on daytime driving whenever possible. Plan for your proper rest. Know what the weather is and plan for it. Always check the routing. Use all the planning tools available, the company-provided route, the internet, and purchase a good atlas and use it. You might ask yourself, where does a driver begin with their plan? Well, first, what are the appointment times? How many hours is it to the pickup and to the delivery? Are time zones going to affect my trip? Read the entire load assignment and plan for everything in it: pallets, load locks, washouts, etc. Compare the provided route to an atlas. Verify appointment times, customer directions, and the weather. Locate fuel stops and determine if that's the best place to rest, take a break, eat, or sleep. By doing these things, the driver and their manager are confident that when a load is accepted, it will be there safely and on time. We're going to use a trip planning worksheet shown here to assist with the understanding of how to get the necessary information for our plan. Think of trip planning in two parts: decisions and route planning. The decision section is intended for the driver to assure that they have enough available hours to successfully commit to the load. The route planning section is where the driver creates a detailed plan day by day and verifies the provided routing and the customer directions with an atlas. It all begins with the load assignment. The load assignment will always be in military time and in local pickup or delivery time zones. Let's review military time and time zones just for our understanding. This table converts the commonly known 12-hour clock to military time. When working with military time, the big difference is that it's broken into incremental 24-hour clock periods rather than 12 hours of an AM and PM. As you review this table, notice the difference. 1 PM is called 1300 in military time, and midnight is actually 0000. A tip to remember is add 12 to any time after 12 noon to get military time. Notice the different time zones at the top of this chart. Time zones in the United States are divided into 4 different zones. Starting with the west and moving east, there's a 3-hour difference from one coast to the other. They are in 1-hour increments as one zone travels to another. They are PST or Pacific, MST or Mountain, CST or Central, and EST or Eastern. All are set as standard time. A driver must remember to account for those time differences in their trip plan when picking up in one time zone and delivering in another. Not to mention that the record of duty or the logs may be in a totally different time zone. Logging hours are based on where the home terminal of the company is located, or in some cases where the driver is being dispatched from. Be sure to account for differences in the trip plan. If you're not sure of the time zone that the customer is in, use an atlas, and ask when you call to verify the customer load information and directions. In summer, standard time changes to daylight savings time, or DST. This means that all states except Arizona switch to daylight savings time. There is a small section of Arizona that does change. Be sure to check the customer location and confirm it with a map or call. Let's take some time to discuss internet, GPS, and maps, and how to use them. There are multiple technological applications that a driver could utilize for routing. However, not all of them have the capacity to provide all the information that the motor carrier Atlas does. When using the internet for routing or GPS, remember that not all apps take into account that this is a large vehicle. There are also mobile user internet connectivity issues while traveling across country. A driver could miss a critical turn or route change. That could result in becoming lost and getting into a high-risk situation, placing the commercial vehicle on a road it shouldn't be on. However, use of technology is valuable as a tool to search for what's needed, like websites for cities and their restrictions. Motor Carrier's Atlas is the preferred map for a commercial driver. It has very valuable information within it. Let's begin with a review of the legend. It describes the symbols that are used within the map. There may be differences between publishers. All maps will have north designations. Locate it to orient the page. North will always indicate the top of the map. Note the color code of the different route types. Atlases have color-coded highway types: U.S. highway, state, primary, secondary, provincial or county highways, scenic routes, and signage for interstates. In the rear, it's indexed by state, and it has a listing of restricted routes for trucks, bridges, tunnels, and etc. An atlas has information like port of entry locations, toll booths, and rest areas, and highway mile marker designations and exit designations, which are very helpful to know what's ahead on a specific highway. There is a design-specific interstate numbering system to provide a general understanding of the direction of flow and the location that the highway runs across the country. Interstates are laid out as even numbers indicate east and west traffic flow. The lower the number, the further south in the United States they are. Moving north, they get larger: I-10, 20, 30, and so on up to I-90. Odd numbers indicate north and south traffic flow. The lower the number, the further west, getting larger moving east: I-5, 15, 25, up to 95. Additionally, long-distance routes will end in a 0 or a 5, such as I-5 in California. It travels a long distance, as opposed to I-76 in Colorado, which only travels a short distance. Three-digit interstates beginning with an even number are belt routes. They flow around a city, from the interstate, and back to the interstate, such as I-215 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Belt route numbers can be duplicated along the same interstate, such as I-215 in Utah and again in California, but not in the same state. Multiple belt routes in the same state will begin with a 2, then a 4, then a 6, always even. Odd-numbered three-digit routes are spurs that flow into a city, like I-710 heading into Long Beach, California. Most U.S. designated highways are classified as primary routes. Note the route coding. These are designated allowable highways, meaning that they usually qualify for vehicles with 53-foot trailers. However, always check your route to make sure that 53-foot trailers are allowed, especially in city limits, canyons, mountain passes, scenic routes, and parkways. The state highway system follows a similar numbering system, only reversed to the interstate. Even numbers increase east to west, and odd numbers increase north to south. This is so that the numbers will not cross or flow into each other, creating confusion. Highway signs will interconnect and flow from one highway to another, having multiple highways showing on a stacked set of signs. When planning, always check truck route restrictions on U.S. and state highways, especially if they are routed through cities, canyons, national parks, coastlines, such as California 1. Parkways are generally off limits to tractor-trailers. Check local web pages for restrictions. Plan around parkways. These were early attempts at interstates or expressways and not specifically built for taller, heavier tractor-trailers. Clearances are lower, and the lanes are narrower, and the turns are much tighter. Don't plan to use them unless they have been fully checked out. Toll roads are highways that charge vehicles to drive on them. Carriers have route listings that specifically restrict or authorize the use of toll roads. When a driver chooses to operate on an unauthorized toll route, it's likely the driver will not be reimbursed for that route. Companies have routing specific to their operations. Be sure to overview those policies and practices before completing the trip plan. The number of the mile marker increases going east and north. These also correspond with exits. This is how they appear in an atlas. A box outlined in black with an arrow indicates an exit, and the larger black number indicates the miles from the start of that section of interstate or state line. Black numbers refer to the mileage between two black dots or the intersection with a black outlined box. Red numbers refer to the longer distances between two red arrow indicators. The atlas can be used to identify the exit and distance by using the mile markers to determine how many miles it is across a state, as well as between exits and/or other intersecting highways. Additionally, there is a mileage chart embedded at the top of the page to assist with a rapid method of getting the total of miles between cities. However, not all cities are in the chart. Some combination of mileage markers and the chart city distance calculations may be necessary. When searching for a specific location, there is an index in the back of the atlas. As an example, the city of Laredo, Texas. First, find the index page for the state of Texas and look for the city of Laredo. Next, locate the grid coordinates connected to the city name. It'll be consisting of numbers and letters. In this case, the grid numbers are load assignment is received, operations needs to know as soon as possible if the assignment will be accepted. However, don't accept a load that cannot be completed without enough available hours of service. Don't turn down a load that could be picked up and moved with possible modifications to the appointment time, a drop, or a swap. That could be worked out with the driver manager. No appointment changes are possible on this load per the load details, as seen here, which is very important to assure that the entire assignment gets read. Note the term more, meaning more screens to read until the term bottom appears. Using a worksheet to assist the two portions of the trip plan is very helpful because all the details are in one location rather than a number of different screens. First, a decision needs to be made about accepting the load. When does the load pick up and when does it deliver? Well, according to the assignment, it picks up on 8/18 at 2000 hours and delivers on 8/22 at 0000 hours, which is not a true time. You should request an update to this assignment. According to the update, it's due at 1000 hours Georgia time. Place that information in the worksheet. Now, how many miles is it from pickup to delivery? According to the assignment, it's 1,098 paid miles. These are operations planning miles. That operational planning calculation is 1,098 divided by 50 miles per hour, which equals 22 hours, as you see here. This can be different than the routing miles. As seen here, the routing miles, when totaled, equals 1,144 miles. Use 1,144 miles for planning travel miles and divide that by 50 miles per hour, which will equal 23 hours of driving time. 50 miles per hour is a standard planning speed used for commercial vehicles. It's possible to travel at a faster rate, but not to plan by. Now, how many days and hours will it take? Well, according to the trip assignment, it's 5 days, the 18th to the 22nd. On the 18th, with the pickup at 2000 hours to midnight, that's 4 hours the first day. On the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, they're all 24-hour days. And on the 22nd, the 5th day, it's 10 hours, for a total of 86 hours. Since it's a Texas to Georgia trip, we'll subtract 1 hour for the time change. Texas is a Central Standard Time, and Georgia is an Eastern Standard Time. That subtraction leaves us 85 hours total trip time. This number should be divided into the trip miles to determine the overall dispatch average speed. 1,144 divided by 85 equals 13.45 average speed. If this number is greater than 28 for a solo or 45 for a team, contact the driver manager. It's too fast. It may be intended for a swap, however. It is possible to plan a trip of less than 600 miles at a faster average rate, since there's generally not a sleeper berth required. If it's too low, then it may be planned for a swap, a drop, home time, and a driver's available hours, or a rescheduling. That all depends on the hours of service available. Be sure to discuss that with the driver manager. Now, how many drive shifts will it take? Looking at the driving miles average of 23, that would be 2 11-hour shifts and 1 additional hour. How many hours of service are needed and what's available? It will take 23 drive hours, plus 1 additional hour per drive period or day for pre-trips, post-trips, fueling, reefer checks, tire, and load checks, for an additional 3 hours totaling 26 hours of service over 3 to 5 days. So how many hours of service are needed and what's available? Available hours of service comes from the 8-day prior form. At the end of the workday for the 17th, there are 6 hours available usable on the 18th. There's a quick way to determine what hours are going to become available during the trip. Look at the hours that are coming available on the next 5 days. The 19th has 8 hours coming available. The 20th has 13 hours coming available. The 21st has 14 hours. The 22nd has 6 hours. What is known totaling those 5 days is that there's 47 hours available in the next 5 days of the trip. The load only takes 26 hours. Therefore, it can be legally accomplished and should be accepted. How far each day is needed to be driven to get there legally and on time? This is determined by the hours available for that day. In this assignment, there is a pickup starting the next day, and there are 6 hours available. We will begin at the yard in Laredo. We have to travel less than 10 miles to the shipper. If a driver has the data connection to use technology to look at the location based on the provided address prior to departing the yard, they should do so. Call the customer and confirm directions provided by the company. The pickup will take approximately 30 minutes to drive there, and since it's a shipper load, indicated with an SL, it'll take less than 1 hour to pick it up, and the driver has already been notified that it's ready to pick up. This assignment does not require pallets, and for our purposes, we'll assume no pallets are in the trailer. When pallets are required, a separate pallet dispatch will be sent. request one if one has not been received. The information on this assignment indicates that load locks are necessary. They should be placed on the back of your tractor. If not, you should always have at least 2, but not more than 4 load locks at any one time. Check our policy manual for further information. By following the rule of planning to drive daylight hours and getting the most effective rest and sleep, with this load it's not necessary to drive more than 200 miles on this day. If you calculate that 4 times 50 miles per hour, it equals 200 miles. That means, where is a good place to stop within 200 miles that's on the route? A quick look at the routing shows that San Antonio is under 200 miles, and a check of the truck stops on the internet shows that there's one there. So what's the best route to follow? Use the company routing, but check the route with a map. Once it's confirmed, do all your billing call information and departure macros and start moving the load. Knowing the next day there is a total of 8 hours available, check at a distance of 7 hours out. Due to fueling, pre-trips and post-trips, look out ahead of your miles 7 times 50, which is 350 miles. That gets you to the next scheduled fuel stop at Katy, Texas. Take a break, and that will leave enough time to get to Orange, Texas, for a total of approximately 300 miles for the day. Now post-trip, eat, do your laundry if necessary, and get some sleep. The next day has 13 hours available, which means a full drive shift of 11 hours. If you do the math, 11 times 50 is 550 miles. Check the atlas at where 550 miles would be from Orange. It looks like it's Shorter, Alabama, which is actually the next fuel stop, and that'll be the most efficient and effective location to take your break. Between your 2 locations, per the hours of service, a break must be taken, which is calculated based on the hours to miles average to travel within the 8-hour limit and stay legal. A quick check on the internet, and there's a truck stop in Alton, Louisiana, 252 miles, or approximately 5 hours away. Use that for your break. When you use the internet, be sure that the miles and the travel hours are calculated at 50 miles per hour. The next day, there's more than 14 hours available, and it's less than 150 miles to your destination. There are truck stops and drop facilities in Conley, Georgia, very close to the delivery location. Assure that the driver manager is aware of your early arrival and check for any other work available in the area, since there's no early delivery capabilities according to the directions. Of course, we've already communicated with our driver manager about this and have plenty of time to get another load ready. These worksheets are available on our website at the driver portal. This lesson on trip planning has been designed to teach you how to use all the hours of service, be rested, stay safe, be on time, and be ready to take another load every time.